Hey guys, so I've promised you I'll make a Fury tutorial video. So, first of all, Fury is one of the Marauder specs that as of lately is really good, both in PvP and PvE. Okay, so let's start with PvP first. Uh, I'd say this. Okay, so for Fury, you want to have as many GCDs in your rotation as possible. First of all, you want alacrity over 1850. The lowest you can go is 1866 if you build your augments and enhancements correctly. You want accuracy at 110%, so that's I think 748. And you want to have the rest in critical and power. Like you can see here, this is optimal stats for Fury. Next thing, you want to build your utilities for PvE. I usually go with Brazen and Cloak of Rage because if I mess up my rotation while I'm in a fight, you can always get some rage return through Cloak of Rage, basically activating Cloak of Pain and getting damaged in the process. That's for skillful. For masterful, well, I'd usually go with Relentless because, see, Predation no longer requires Sokizume's Fury, but it will go down on cooldown for 30 seconds, which is fine. And I'd go with Defensive Roll, so damage taken from area effects by 30% and internal by 3%. For Heroic, I'd usually go with Brooding, Unbound. Undying is iffy at best, but if you expect a lot of damage incoming, you'd go for Undying. But for now, I'm not gonna use it. And for Legendary, Ruthless Aggressor and Interloper, because, okay, let's see. With Ruthless Aggressor, Vicious Throw refunds 2 rage when used on a target affected by Obfuscate and can be used, see, at any target health percent. Also, it increases your force and tech resistance by 75% for 6 seconds, which means in PvP this is also a really great utility to take. As we'll talk about PvP later. And as for Interloper, you can basically double jump with force charge, which some people dislike, but for me, I usually take it. Okay, so in a fight, in any kind of PvE fight, whether it's bosses or let's say trash, all you want to do always is get your Fury stacks to 30. So let's wait for that. Okay, there we go. Now, for the best optimal rotation where you can maximize your damage, you always want to use Berserk before or in the same GCD as Force Charge. I'll show you right now. Okay, so let us just fix the dummy so you can see some real numbers. Basically, your rotation should start with Berserk and Force Charge in the same GCD, then using Ravage, and right as Ravage is about to expire you want to use your Adrenal. I guess if you want to use your raid buffs immediately, you probably should, if it's a boss fight. It all depends on which bosses it is exactly, but we, for Parse, will use it immediately with Ravage. Your rotation will consist of using Berserk and Force Charge in the first GCD. In the second GCD you'll want Ravage and the Adrenal. Afterwards we'll go to Raging Burst, Furious Strike, Vicious Slash, Obliterate, Battering Assault, Force Crush, Raging Burst, Furious Strike, Vicious Slash, Obliterate, Force Scream, Berserk, and we will repeat Ravage, Raging Burst, Furious Strike, Vicious Slash. Well, enough of talk, let's see it in action. Also, in your rotation, you never want to use Assault, because your damage will definitely fall off. This, what I'm doing right now, this rotation is optimal, so you never lose, or well, you never need to use Assault. Assault and Fury is useless compared to, say, Carnage and Annihilation. Even Annihilation you don't want to use it that much, but if your dots don't bring you enough, what's it called? I think it's Rage actually. Is it Rage? Yeah, it's Rage. When they don't bring you enough Rage, you will need to use Assault. But if on Fury you mess up your rotation, you will be forced to use Assault, which isn't such a big problem, but then again you want to use it as little as possible or never at all. Let's just send this dummy fight. Damage on Fury is really good, because like as of lately the passes are going through the roof, but that's because of using one utility. That's because of using Hidden Savagery, which is right here. Because you can squeeze 8 to 12% increase the damage after using Force Camouflage. I won't get into it now because that's basically a passing thing, and here we're talking about just PvE and PvP. Okay, so for PvP, let me just reset my utilities because we'll start from there. In PvP, each one of these utilities is basically a free game. Every single one of them will help you both survive and deal enough damage to kill your opponents. For PvP I usually go with Overwhelm, because Ravage immobilizes the target for 3 seconds, which is nice, but then again you can always take, I don't know, Cloak of Rage if you want to build that Rage quickly, because you don't want to use this rotation that I just showed you now for both PvE and PvP, because PvP is more situational. Inexorable, also a good pick, because see, you regenerate 4 rage every time you get pushed, immobilized, put to sleep, knocked around or stunned. I don't usually take this. I don't take either Cloak of Carnage nor do I take Patkava. I usually take Brazen. For Masterful, I'd go with Subjugation, because it reduces the cooldown of Obfuscate and increases range by 6 meters, which is basically 10 meters range. Obfuscate is a really powerful ability in PvP, because you can basically make anyone's rotation hit you for like nothing basically. So you always take subjugation in PvP. Phantom is also a really good pick because you will want to stealth out, you will want to run around, you will want to regenerate your HP pool. And the movement speed also helps because you want to move around as much as possible as a Marauder or a Sentinel. Relentless, also a really good pick, so we'll go with Relentless, we'll go with Phantom. Now some people would probably take Strangulate, Interceptor or Defensive Roll instead of these three, but for me these two always help me, both in ranked and unranked PvP. Relentless is just a basic utility that you want to take because say if you're playing in a war zone where you're the only a Marauder, and then the only Marauder that actually uses predation, because let's face it, some people don't really use it in war zones or at all. You want to have that extra movement speed up. For heroic, excuse me, Unbound, which goes toe to toe with what's it called? Relentless. It purges your movement impairing effects. So if you're, say, slowed or rooted, you want to use predation. Okay, for the next pick, before we end with heroic, I'd choose Ruthless Aggressor and Bloodward. Then again, there's better picks like using Rooting, but you want that only in ranked PvP probably, but not even there. Cloak of Annihilation, not really necessary. Maiming Touch, it's okay I guess, but okay, Maiming Touch is probably like the Crippling Slash. It's probably the best ability you have for PvP because it reduces the enemy's movement speed for 50% and it reduces the healing they receive by 20%. All that for 10 seconds. This Crippling Slash used in relation to Force Crush, which makes him, like you see here, slows the target by from 50 to 5% movement speed for 3 seconds. That also gives you the Gravity Vortex ability, or well, utility, let's say. So you're probably gonna use Force Crush, and as it runs out you'll use Crippling Slash to have your target's movement speed reduced maximum. But still, okay, so for Legendary you want the Bloodward, because it will grant you a CC immunity for 6 seconds. And on top of that, if you're getting damaged every second for those 6 seconds that your Saber Ward lasts, or well, Blood Ward, because Saber Ward lasts for 12 seconds. Every second that your Blood Ward is up, if you get hit, you will regenerate 18% of your HP. See here, I'm sitting at 129,000, almost 130. 18% of that is a really good heal per se. And we're going back to Ruthless Aggressor. Why use Ruthless Aggressor in PvP? Because, okay, let's see, it refunds you 2 rage when you use Vicious Throw on a target affected by Obfuscate, which is this. Okay, let's just commit. See the cooldown on it, it's 45 seconds. And it lasts for 6 seconds, so the active cooldown actually is 39 seconds. You want to use Obfuscate in PvP as much as possible, especially on high damage dealers like mercenaries, snipers and other marauders. If you use it well in war zones, both ranked and unranked, this thing will save lives. Literally save lives. Okay, let's return to this one. Additionally, activating Obfuscate grants you Ruthless Aggressor, increasing your force and tech resistance by 75% for 6 seconds. This utility, I have not really seen many people take it in PvP, but this You get force and tech resistance by 75% for 6 seconds. From using Force Crush, you get Gravity Vortex every 30 seconds. You get immunity to all interrupts, to all CC, everything for 6 seconds. On top of that, you have Saber Ward, which grants you another 6 seconds of immunity. Well, that's why we take Blood Ward. That's basically it for PvP. The only thing you actually want to do in PvP, which I can't really show you now, when you start the Warzone, be it ranked or unranked, before you even do anything, before you jump in the fight, use Frenzy. Always use Frenzy. Why? When you use Frenzy, you get 30 stacks of Fury. You want to use Berserk, Force Charge into the enemy. I'd always start with using either Ravage or Force Crush, because people will usually try to knock you around immediately. So you want to use, okay, like this. You want to get this, the Gravity Vortex. You want to get Weapon Masters, the bonus from your gear. So you can use Furious Strike, get that crit up. You want to use Raging Burst to get Cascading Power. Obliterate, Battering Assault, this. Then you pop Saber Ward, get that Blood Ward up, get Saber Ward up. Use this again. Here it is, Gravity Vortex. Another immunity. Use Obfuscate, but this is the operation dummy, so you can't really use it. You want to have as many immunities as possible while in PvP. Managing your Force Crush, Saber Ward is the key to surviving in PvP. And for PvP, you want to lower your alacrity to 750, and you want your accuracy to either 0, so 101% accuracy, or have it sitting at around 105%. People usually debate if it's really useful or not, but I don't really care. I always run with 0 accuracy or 101%. And the rest, you'd want to throw in critical to at least 45% and get that multiplied, I think 83%, and the rest you want in power and mastery, because mastery gets you bonus damage, gets you critical, gets you the basic primary and secondary damage. That's it. Thank you guys.